All right, good morning everyone. How you feeling? There we go. I hope you all had safe travels in. I hope that you had a good time at the opening cocktails last night. No excuses. You should all be here on like a nice toasty 8 hours of sleep. Kind of chilly here, which is a nice break from the heat wave that I know that we all have kind of been suffering through, at least on the East Coast. I know a couple folks flew in, which kudos to you for coming in from the Western Coast. Look, I am so excited to spend the next few days with you all. The conversations we're about to have discussing the work that you all are doing, it's vitally important, and I really truly mean that. When we had our spring edition of this show back in February, that was my first real exposure to your industry. As John just said, my background is in the Home Depot and it's at Arby's with Inspire Brands. I know my way around flooring and appliances, roast beef and curly fries. Now, retail and QSR, those are fast-paced categories. We chased comps through really aggressive promo strategies that would pivot on a dime. We overstuffed our content calendars by celebrating every single holiday, real and fake, and we played fast and loose with legal. Now, it was my mistaken impression that by comparison, this industry moves at a glacial pace. Incredibly long research and product development cycles, restrictions on the data that you can access and then activate on, the painstaking scrutiny over every word, claim, and representation. But first off, that ignores and undervalues the complexity, the ingenuity, and the excruciating detail of the campaigns that you create and orchestrate. And secondly, as I've come to learn, it's simply not true. This industry is in the midst of pretty significant change and transformation. And over the next few days, I think you'll hear and see that I don't think you're moving slowly at all to activate and to take advantage of that shift. So for starters, we're going to dig deep this week on the big disruptor, AI. If you're unaware, welcome to the agentic era. I hope you are all thanking your AI chatbots. They have a very large memory. We're going to dive into how organizations are evolving, adapting, and adopting AI. We're going to talk about how it's reshaping the patient experience, retooling skill sets, and the ethics of it all. But there's another big change we have to discuss too, and it deals with access. So I grew up a little over 2 hours north of here in Sherburne, New York. It's a very rural area, with a graduating class size, and mine was the largest in quite a few years, of 120 kids sourced from over 10 different towns in the county. We had access to hospitals, emergency services, and healthcare clinics. But about 34% of the county is on Medicaid. So as you all know, with the recent federal budget that was passed, Medicaid saw significant cuts. And there is widespread concern that the downstream impact to rural communities could mean that some hospitals close or have to reduce their services. Now, it is truly my sincere hope that that concern is ultimately wrong and that rural communities like mine, their access is still preserved. But it may not. And so I turn in part to the work that you all are doing, building telehealth platforms, unlocking in-home diagnostic testing, creating 360 care options that reach beyond the physical footprint of traditional healthcare providers. And it's not just the platforms and the technology. The targeting really matters too. Campaigns that intelligently reach patients and offer awareness and education, informing the uninformed so that they're empowered even when their resources are diminished. And as you'll hear shortly, brands are not developing these capabilities on the same 10 to 15 year timelines as a normal pharmaceutical. It's happening in the span of months. As I said, the conversations about the work that you're doing, it's vitally important. So let's get into it. As a reminder, everything we say on stage is on the record and recorded. A core element of what we do here at MediaPost is journalism. It's providing a platform to showcase and highlight the work that you all are doing. But it's also the off-the-record conversations where some of the most enriching dialogue will happen. So at noon, we turn off all the cameras and we enter into our round tables. These are the deeper off-the-record conversations where you can dig in peer-to-peer about some of the things that we talked about on stage. Okay, so what's in store for today? You're going to hear from Tim Ragland, the Vice President of Growth and Strategy at WISP, about how the brand is evolving from its roots in women's sexual and reproductive health into a more comprehensive 360 care model for in-home care. How they're targeting patients with personalized but compliant marketing, meeting them in their moment of need. You're also going to hear from Jack Gia, the CEO and founder of Muesli, about how he's scaling the fastest growing teledermatology brand in the US with the careful balance of an AI-supported care model with community-first, patient-centric care. You're also going to hear from a panel of media and marketing experts about how to better engage with HCPs and patients, how to cut through the clutter and the sea of sameness with smarter targeting and more meaningful creative. But first, as you settle in and you finish your coffee, I promised you speed, a story of how brands are evolving their capabilities and their technology at a rapid pace to meet patients where they are. How do we use digital to improve the patient journey? How do we leverage technology to better educate, create transparency, and drive action? At Sanofi, patient empowerment is taking shape within their type 1 diabetes practice with a new self-screening direct-to-patient solution. So here to tell us about that fast-paced journey of their award-winning Screening Central platform, please join me in welcoming our opening keynote speaker, Keith McGee, Senior Director of Channel Management at Sanofi. Welcome, Keith.